I say too much about Lisa Olstein, I will begin to weep, and not for the first time in public talking about Lisa, so I will just say this. When I read Lisa's work, I can feel the enlargement of my heart and my mind. I can feel things being taken from me which I could not seem to jettison myself, and I can feel myself receiving that which I have been desperately seeking. Because Lisa's work captures the ineffable, the intangible, the uncontainable wreckage and magnificence of being alive, extremities which so often seem to resist a vocabulary, but which in Lisa's hands are made miraculously legible. Eileen Miles writes, "Roads around mountains because we can't drive through, that's poetry to me." And while I love that definition, I think of Lisa's work as especially magnificent in that it does find a way to drive through the mountain, to tunnel through it with unparalleled emotional insight, passionate intellectual quest, and exquisite grace. Lisa Olstein.
Vincent, we love you. And if this wasn't your party and you weren't going to be mad at me, I don't think I would leave right now. That should end tonight. That was an incredible piece. Thank you, Malvern, as ever, for existing. You make this town 100% better. That's maybe a slight exaggeration, but 80% better. And as we all know, we're in this room, we know Vincent is a human of many, many talents, but not least among them is a talent for friendship, a true, genuine enthusiasm for people, enthusiasm for loving work, sharing work, being dedicated to sort of the deepest human level of this weird, solitary thing that we all do. And I think it's really beautiful, and we're going to miss you a lot. I'm sort of mildly competitive, and when people write, when I'm at a reading and people deliver really awesome, sexy stuff, I'm like, damn, I want to bring out my sexy stuff, but that's not what's going to happen. Yeah, so a few poems. Air writes, "One way to think of it is I require absence and you are lifelong a room just left. Except you bloom not empty half-light, but a stand of trees at the edge of the meadow where my life leaks out. Static is the soundtrack of the cabbie's dream, but oh, how we love our troubadours, sad acoustic boys and girls, sunshine stuck in their throats. Some days it takes all my concentration not to pick the lettuce that lives down the street. Then I wake with tendrils between my fingers, and once again I'm feigning innocence on the one hand, aping grief on the other. See, I would eat the lily from under the frog, drink the river between each strider's wake. It's my way of feeling productive, of not too terribly envying the swan, still as a figurine on her cloud mirror until the trees go back to normal, which is a kind of sleep, instead of clawing magnificent at the sky." So long. Mother falcon beautifully arranged on your shit-stained sill, stilled for the incubation under a camera's monocular eye so that we may pry. Bullet bird, golden lidded, we should let you sleep instead of watching you try. Hover, blink, repeat. Update, you moved a muscle. Update, the air swept down. Update, you've trailed back some blood on your beak from last night's thrill. How many pills to kill this thin, papery feeling? More, or, as yet, not enough. Trafficked arms, rapacious tongue, greedy gullet, enough is a matter of much debate. Mother, you are late. I ate the glinting of your hair, your knuckle in the steaming soup. You bled into me just like now into the ground we beat these wings. Another great thing among so many about Vincent is I know I'm not too depressing for him. Cold comfort. Weather, whistle me this, soon you're all we'll talk about, not in the old way, no longer idle, but driving. Sure, we can bury ourselves under a volcano to simulate life on Mars, but the drill we run there to test our ability to survive is my dog died. Often it seems we find ourselves in another world. Often when we find our way, it happens in a moment. Then we live to do it again. Occasional divers are hesitant. I tend to swerve with the knife, don't you? Depraved heart, this is where we stitch you up. This is where we let you seem. Most often it's you that fails us. Never supposed to beat so long. This next poem is a collage sort of poem that draws from Maurice Blanchot's, I think it's called The Writing of the Disaster. And I was chatting with some people earlier about doing this collaborative project with a visual artist who creates these crazy sort of rough-hewn music boxes. So there's a visual and it moves, and then a composer puts music to it, and then she has invited some poets to then sort of respond to the piece, and usually there's a fairy tale involved. Anyway, that's just a side note for those people I was talking with before. This is called The Disaster. The disaster ruins everything. There is no reaching the disaster this way. The disaster threatens. The disaster is separate. The disaster does not come. We suspect the disaster is thought. To think the disaster, we are on the edge of disaster already. When it comes upon us, the disaster is imminence. Disaster detached from the disaster. Time belongs to the disaster. The disaster has always already withdrawn. There is no future for the disaster. The disaster is perhaps related to forgetfulness, the disaster not thought, not knowledge of the disaster, knowledge disastrously. The disaster is perhaps passivity. Night, white, sleepless night. Such is the disaster, night lacking darkness, night separated from star. The disaster exposes us with respect to the disaster. Nothing suffices. The disaster would liberate us if it could. The disaster does not impose itself. The disaster is not our affair. The disaster takes care of everything. So, going back in time a little bit, I want to read two poems from my last book for Vincent. Exile the dragon-tailed and the rabbit-eared among you. There is a queen peeking from your bedroom window as if a terrace, as if a crowd. Nobody notices her waving in the dark. She didn't ask for this life. Yellow was chosen for her 600 years ago during a short truce in a long war. Every dog I ever loved just died, say her eyes, as the eyes of every dead dog I ever loved stare back at me from the windowsill and earlier at the checkout counter as the clerk explained how carefully he crushed between 2 spoons the pills into a fine powder, stirred them into a bowl of meat, and carried Pal outside for one last meal. Maybe you're in trouble, says the queen. Maybe you don't need a lover. Maybe you're 1,000 ways broken. Dear Sir, Dear Sir, no one can see it, but I feel it against my skin, silky disease beneath my clothes. Like stones in a stream, my dreams turn over, and you are beneath every one. What is your advice to me? Dear Sir, dissatisfaction dresses me according to its own schedule. Sometimes I imagine you sitting beside me. When the trace of someone's scent is left on my skin, like a car crash, suddenly you're there. Dear sir, it was a lot of provisions to waste, but the need to stop and think of you was overpowering. You are the slippery side of the road when the rain comes halfway down. You are the midnight mountain against the midnight sky. Today I watched a hawk soar against a background of no clouds hunting pigeons. The horses appear larger in the snow. They know to fear their ribbon fences. Dear sir, today the horses ignored me. The blue-eyed pony is companion to the nervous mare, but his spirit is me. I sort the hours like colored beads. My breath is a pulley. My eyes work together, but they are not friends. Dear sir, the heightened awareness, the grace the senses bring to the landscape, to the beloved before imminent departure, this is where I reside. The day's tasks fill up, they blossom with you. You are a dogged pursuit, and I am a dog, trembling. If you open your hand, I'll rub myself against it. With these pits beneath my tongue, these kittens in my teeth. Dear sire, I understand that desired is also desire, that every you is you, that what we want is a container for many wishes. Sometimes I let the room grow dark around me. It has only ever been fleeting, satisfaction with the friend I am given, as if each embrace is a trigger I pull just to find the wish to stop. Dear siren, to whom are you making these declarations? Do you hear me not listening, not imagining my fingers in your hair? Stop speaking to me in code. I tried to love each day on its treasonous march forward. It's too late. It'll be months before the light shines this sideways again. Dear sir, I would take no pills, but I need them. At night, I lie down flat like a river, waiting for its blanket of birds. So I did something that I think might be truly obscene, which is I wrote a poem during AWP, which there should probably be a law against. And so it's quite new, and I'll close with this. Thanks again for being here. Thanks, Vincent, for making this part. Cinders of. Never before have I found airplanes or the blinking red eyes of 100-story cranes so beautiful, LA. People eating and drinking and glowing in hot tubs on rooftops under a few persistent stars, and the silver bodies of steel origami jets ashing like lit cigarettes as they sweep languid across the lapis sky. End of the century is what the scientists say today, give or take, less. Already we are in excess. Was it Galileo who dreamt of a fine-masted ship meant by wind to explore the heavens? Home, how long have we longed to leap from you, to return? A humming colony inside the plane, we breathe obediently our modicum of bottled air, choiceless, blameless for decisions made by now so long ago back on the ground. We would all take more than our share, but when one among us cries out, those nearest quickly attend. The rest stand by, stand guard, we like to pretend, stand up, stand tall, stand down. How differently will the moment construe itself across the screens of our faces later when once more we tell a story called I Survived. I'd like to report a woman raving in the street. I'd like to report a man with no shoes sleeping on a grate at the corner of Figueroa and Ninth. I'd like to report a gun in a holster on a hip in my classroom, a person with a deadly weapon whose intent I cannot determine. I'd like to report a desperate hope. I'd like to report too little, too late. I'd like to report the newspaper of record. I'd like to report the victim's family has not yet been notified. We are gathered here today in the cinders of pumas wearing pumas on rooftops and red eyes in and out of LA. Jellyfish will inherit the earth. We've learned to despise anything invasive, but everyone loves a winner. I mean, they may keep their curtain closed, but first class would turn to us in a heartbeat in a pinch. Let's say someone needed to be tackled or something malfunctioned, and for once back here there was more air. We wouldn't hold it against them. Last night on the street beneath a bullet like this one, I drank in a life story because I was thirsty. I shared one because I was asked. This too was a version of the conversation we keep needing not to let ourselves have. Thank you.
So that's all. Thank you, everyone. Claire, Lisa, Meg, Kelly, all of you for coming. Malvern. I'm going to miss all of you very, very much. I don't want to say anything else or else I'll start crying. Buy books and support your local bookstore. And thank you so much to Malvern.